Where is Belarus and what does it have to do with the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Belarus borders both Ukraine and Russia and was once part of the Soviet Union. In 1991, the country declared independence. And in the decades since, Belarus's leader, Alexander Lukashenko, has attempted to remain as independent and neutral as possible while maintaining a close relationship with Vladimir Putin. For example, Belarus did not recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. But since a highly controversial and disputed presidential election in 2020, where Lukashenko cracked down hard on huge national protests against him after claiming the presidency, he's had to rely much more on his friend in the Kremlin, as the West has imposed tough sanctions against his regime.
Сложилось впечатление, что отдельные облегченные и облаченные прежде всего высокими и ответственными должностями политики из так называемого свободного мира просто патологически опасны и для окружающих, и самое главное для собственных народов.
Meanwhile, relations between Ukraine and Belarus have become strained. Belarus has accused Ukraine of becoming increasingly aligned with the West, for example, by rejecting the results of the 2020 presidential election.
The majority voted for me, despite them seeing me every day, everywhere.
Nearly half of Belarus's foreign trade is with Russia, and in the last 20 years, the Kremlin has lent Alexander Lukashenko an estimated $100 billion, and that's picked up in the wake of those disputed elections where Lukashenko really had nowhere else to turn. So it's no surprise that Vladimir Putin is leaning on their support now. Belarus is key geographically for Russia and to the rest of Europe. The Suwalki Gap, a 65-kilometre stretch of land that makes up the border between Poland and Lithuania, is also bordered by Belarus and by the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. NATO knows this is its weakest point because if Russia was to take control, it could cut off the rest of Eastern Europe. In response to the conflict, NATO has increased the number of troops in the Baltics and Poland. It was Belarus that Russian troops used as a launch pad for their initial invasion of Ukraine, after spending months conducting what they billed as military drills there.
Еще раз говорю, наших войск там нет. Но если надо будет, если это будет необходимо Беларуси и России, они будут.
And now Lukashenko has openly offered not only to host troops, but also Russia's nuclear weapons, after a referendum to revoke the country's non-nuclear status. That's worrying because it could allow Russia to target parts of Europe with short-range weapons, and is a sign that Belarus is becoming more of a player in this conflict. In response, the US has withdrawn its few remaining embassy workers from the capital Minsk and has threatened they will impose further sanctions if Belarus continues to aid and abet Russian aggression. So, in an increasingly precarious conflict, Belarus is a key player.